Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, and this is my video guide for 20 essential tips for new and returning players to Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. So Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate dropped. It did some big things for the game, to say the least. We have a lot of people who are brand new, and we have a lot of people who haven't touched the game in quite a while, and maybe you need a refresher. That's exactly what this video is. Now, we have made one like this in the past, but it's been a good while, and I can add more stuff and recontextualize stuff a lot better, so let's get to it. Now, everything will be timestamped. This is probably going to be a longer video, so just skip ahead to whatever looks interesting to you, and with that said, let's start it off. So, first up here, let's just talk about the meter. Meter works a bit different in Mortal Kombat 11 versus your traditional fighting games. So we have the meter going up and the meter going across. The meter going up is your defensive meter, and the meter going across is your offensive meter. So let's talk offensive meter first here. Long story short, they're there to make your moves better. So this move we have here for Scarlet is called Retribution. Does 94 damage, and if we were to enhance it, burn a bar on it, all of a sudden, hey, that's more damage, right? And you can see the bar now recharging over time. You don't have to hit people, you don't have to run away or whiff buttons or whatever it is depending on the game. Meter in this game recharges by itself. And enhancing a move doesn't just mean you always get more damage. Now, in a lot of cases, yes it is. But for Scarlet, her basic projectile here, back forward 2, if you enhance it when it hits, it'll return health back to you. It'll steal a portion of the enemy's health, and then it'll just fly back to you and you get a heal. So in other cases, it can be something like that. It's not just always more damage. Now, when it comes to your defensive meter, well, hey, it's for defense, right? Now, we have a whole defensive section we're going to cover, but I do want to tell you that it also can apply to your moves. So, certain moves, mostly movement-based, like say we have a teleport here, right? So, normally, Scarlet will always teleport to the other side of the foe, but sometimes you just want out a dodge, right? And she has her far teleport. But that took all of her defensive meter, as you can see here. It's just completely gone. So you get this very powerful tool that you just, okay, like maybe I'm in the corner, I don't want to deal with this stuff, I'm out of here, done, right? And that takes all of your defense. Or if you want to be a little tricky, you can teleport in place, and that takes one of your defensive bars. So defensive bars, on top of the defensive stuff we'll talk about later in the video, is also tied to certain movement-based moves. But unlike most other games, basically, you don't have to worry too much about meter management. If you got it to burn, you might as well use it, and there's not really much point in hoarding it, because it'll just automatically regenerate by itself. Now, here's a very important concept to understand here in Mortal Kombat, and it is generally how this works in all Mortal Kombat games. Mortal Kombat is a lot more similar to a 3D fighter, like Tekken, like Virtual Fighter, like Dead or Alive, than a lot of other 2D fighters in this respect, in that the attack heights matter a lot. So there are 4 base attack heights. There are highs, there are mids, there are lows, and there are overheads. Now the big thing here is highs are generally the fastest attacks in the game, and sometimes the most damaging attack in the games, but you can defeat them simply by just ducking. So I can hit stand 1, stand 2, uppercut all I want, go for a throw all I want. They're all highs. So no matter what, just by holding down and not holding block, we'll talk about that in a second, you defeat all these moves. So if I go for a big uppercut, I'll just whiff over your head, and if you ducked it, then, hey, you can give me a tap, and you can punch me for whiffing the move. So neutral ducking defeats all highs. But now, if you were to crouch block here, all of a sudden, a high can connect. Before the stand 2 would have whiffed, now it connects. The throw, it connects now. So you're making yourself more vulnerable to highs by blocking, but then it's a little bit of risk management, because if you neutral duck, it'll go clear over your head. And although hitbox, hurtbox issues are much better in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, sometimes even if you are crouch blocking, highs can still go over your head. So watch out for that. Mid attacks can be blocked either crouching or standing. So if we have the foe stand block, works just fine. If we have the foe crouch block, works just fine. Now mids being the catch-all, they catch everything. They're generally sometimes on the slower end of things. They're generally a lot slower than your given high, but you're trading the speed for a guaranteed deal, right? They cannot neutral duck a mid. If they try to neutral duck it, they'll get hit in the head, go from there. Low attacks must be blocked crouch blocking. So if you are standing, you will be hit. So basically the game forces you, for the most part, crouch block is the incentive, right? Because it'll defeat highs, you get to block them. It'll defeat mids, you get to block them. And defeats lows, because you get to block them. So if you stand block, then you'll be able to get hit by a low. Then finally we have overheads. Overheads must be blocked standing. Now the thing here is overheads are generally speaking the slowest kind of attack in the game, right? So some, in this case your Kano forward 4, 25 frames, it's what we call reactable. You can visually see it happening. Oh, I got a stand block, right? Now it's not to say you're going to get every time, because you certainly are not, but it gives you a chance to react to it. And we have hop attacks, which will go more depth as well later in the video, but they're universal overheads. Everyone has access to that. So that in general is the 4 attack heights. Okay, so now we're just going to do a primer on frame data, just in case you don't understand the concept. So this game runs at 60 frames per second, meaning every 60 frames that have elapsed, 1 real world second has gone by. So take Noob Saibot's uppercut. It says startup 10 frames. So it took 1/6 of a second to enter its startup. Now let's look at this. Active frames. So for 3 frames of 60, so 3 out of 60, it is able to hit the foe. That's what active means. And recovery. So for 47 frames, so almost a full second, we are in recovery. Now how do you see these? Well, first you want to go into your practice options, go to frame data, and it's really that simple. So I always go to both, so you can always see both sides. So you both get to see all the data that happened for you, and if the enemy is doing something, you get to see that as well. So there's a lot of core concepts we can learn just from the numbers, right? So if I just do down 1 jab. So it says here, hit advantage 13 frames. So that means basically I recover to my neutral state where I can move, do whatever I want to do. I recover to my state of neutral 13 frames before the enemy. Conversely, you could say the enemy is negative 13, so it takes them 13 frames to catch up to neutral when I've already been doing it. These numbers are applicable everywhere. Once again here, off a basic hit, sure. Okay, we just hit him with a sweep. Takes 19 frames of hit advantage here, it says. So it takes them 19 frames to get up off the ground. So that is effectively 1/3 of a second, if you will. Just a little bit shy of it. Because once again, we run at 60 frames per second. These numbers are very important, like a basic projectile. 18 frames start up, sure. If that was point blank, because only 1 active frame at point blank. But if we hit from this far away, as you can see, the active number has changed. It's 25 because we had 18 frames startup and it took this many frames to reach the opponent. If we did it point blank, it happens on the first active frame, but that's going to be very rare. But if we do it from further out, all of a sudden that took 21 frames. So it's actively 18 plus 21 to actually hit the opponent from that distance we did it at. Another very important concept to understand is negative frames. So here we are now, we're negative 20. So therefore, the enemy has recovered 20 frames faster than we will. And negative 20, well, hey, remember that pokes here? These all happen to start in 7 frames. So if we're negative 20, that means they have enough frames to connect and punish us. So doing a move like this point blank is a very poor idea, as we'll just get punished, we'll get comboed, and we'll get our heads kicked in. Now conversely, so negative 20 point blank. But once again, we're talking about active frames. Now, all of a sudden, because there's travel time, it takes more frames of animation to reach the opponent. Then that negative 20, which was point blank, is no longer such. Now, okay, negative 13, negative 12, negative 9. As you can see, the further and further away it hits from, we recover better and better and better. And like, you know, these distances here, these numbers, these are not punishable in any way, shape, or form. So for a lot of moves, it's not just what the raw number says point blank. It also has to take into account how long it takes frames of animation wise to cover across the screen, because you can go from you're going to lose the game when you do it this close to, hey, not a big deal from this far away. In the end, and I hope I'm not overcomplicating the fact, frame data is just numbers. It's basic, simple math. With all that said, hopefully I didn't scare you off. It's a very important deal. I highly suggest once again here, just go to training mode, practice options. It's right there. Turn it on and see what numbers you can learn. Now let's talk hops. Hops are a universal mechanic. Everyone in the game can do a hop. All you have to do is hit up briefly. If you hold up too long, you're going to get a jump instead. And just as a little bit of an FYI, one of the tricks you can use to do it is when you hit up, immediately hit down. Now, hitting down doesn't do anything, but what it does is it gets your finger off the up button so you don't accidentally hold it too long. Now, while you're doing a hop, as you can see here, it's effectively like a jump, right? So low attacks, all that, you can go right over them, and you have a hop punch and a hop kick. Now, these are different character to character. For some people, the hop, one or the other, is faster than the other. So if you're looking for pure speed and looking to overwhelm the enemy, like for Raiden, the hop punch comes out a little bit earlier than the hop kick. So if you're just looking to pure reaction test the enemy to get them while they're crouch blocking, the hop punch is the one you want. But for a lot of characters, it's all about range. Raiden's hop kick is infamous because the range of it is absurd. He can use this basically as a poke, like while you're just going back and forth in neutral, because the range is so much. Now, the hop punch would not connect from this far. So for each character you're playing, it's basically just valuing speed versus range, going from there. Once again, this is a universal overhead. Some characters, their overhead options are weak. Everyone's down 3 and down 4 buttons are lows, and back 4s as well. So everyone has some lows at least, but for some people, the hop is generally how they're going to get it. As of Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, another property of hops is they crush down ones. Down 1 is your basic poke, and it's a big part of the game, right? It's about enforcing will, trying to steal turns, and just making sure the enemy plays defense. The poke is a huge part of the game, and now in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, your basic hop, and it could be a punch, it could be a kick, it doesn't matter, now completely is invulnerable to down 1s. It'll just clearly go through them, like you're invincible. The down 1 cannot hit you while you're doing a hop. Now keep in mind, the hop itself is not the thing that's invincible. So if you do it too late and you only get the hop part off, the hop can be hit by the down 1. It's only the attack itself. So you need to be at least 1 frame into your attack. But otherwise, when you're just getting heavy into the old poke wars, the hop attack is now meant to kind of curtail that a little bit. Now let's talk defensive options. Because as MK11, when your back's against the wall, when you're being hit, when you're knocked down, MK11 has a lot of defensive options. The first thing we should talk about here is delayed wake up. So delayed wake up, how you do it is simply hit your stance change button, hold it while you're on the ground, and you stay down longer than you normally would versus you just getting up normally. This has changed in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. So before, you would get up normally, and there was like several layers of wake up timing on delay wake up. Now there's only wake up normally and delay wake up timing, just so you know. Now if you're playing the game previously, the normal wake up timing from the base wake up time, or rather the base delay get up here, is faster. So normal wake ups get up 4 frames faster than they used to be. And delay wake ups, they're roughly in the middle of the potential options you had before. So we'll use Robocop's basic sweep here, our example. So normally we have 10 frames of advantage, and we'll talk more about frame data later. And if we were to do a delay wake up instead, and delay wake up is 30 frames, meaning the delay wake up comes out 20 frames later, a third of a second later. So basically you're just down for that much longer. You're down for a third of a second longer than normal, which can really throw a wrench into a lot of plans. If you got setups or you're trying to attack the enemy on their wake up, that kind of stuff, very powerful. Next up, we have the breakaway mechanic. Now this is very important in that it'll get you out of a lot of trouble. When you're airborne and not actively being hit, because if you're actively being hit, you cannot do this. When you're airborne and not being hit, you spend 2 of your defensive bars, hit down and the block button at the same time, and you'll just immediately fall to the ground. Now, if you have anything less than a full defensive gauge, you cannot do this move. You have to have this move ready to go with 2 full defensive bars, and if you try with anything less, it's just not going to work. Now be on the lookout for this. This is one of the primary ways people will spend their defensive bar because they don't want to be comboed. So when the enemy is going to be doing this and you expect it, one of the classic routes is something like this. So normally say Robocop back 2 launches into a combo, but I know you're going to break away right away. So screw it, I'll just go for an uppercut, right? So that will still get a lot of damage in, and I won't lose my entire combo for it. So that's a classic way to deal with breakaway. Another very important defensive move is the roll. So when you're on the ground, as you're getting up, hit forward or backwards, and your stance switch button, and you'll roll in that direction. And rolls, they're invincible to attack, straight up. You try to attack one, not gonna work. But the one thing is, they're invincible to everything attack base, except for throws. So if you try to roll and you get a thrown, hey, you're eating it. And some throws, depending character to character, they get a bonus if they catch you rolling. So you gotta really watch out. Because for some people like Robocop, it's exactly what they were looking for, right? But yeah, otherwise, it's a good way to, get out, be somewhat safe. And also, if you're looking to be sneaky here, if you know someone's just going to attack a lot on your wake up here, forward roll into the enemy means usually you can punish whatever they try to hit you with. So, defensive and offensive. And it will take always one defensive bar. So, if you don't have at least one defensive bar available, you can't do it. And finally, we have what we call wake up 2 and wake up 3. And that is directly correspond to your 2 button and your 3 button. So when you get knocked down, and we'll do wake up 2 first as our example here. Hey, we got hit. And also, it's a launcher. So Devore in this situation could get a bit of a combo follow-up after the fact. But what's the weakness here? If you can just wake up and combo me, right? Well, the weakness is here, I can just hit you, right? Like, ain't nothing stopping me just from hitting you out of it. Because you're not invincible for some things. So one thing is these attacks are full invincible to anything jumping. Jumping on the foe while they're knocked down, very strong in Mortal Kombat. So if I were to knock you down here, go for my jump immediately, hey, it's invincible. It might not be invincible to all these various wake up buttons here, but if I am in the air, then yes, the up 2 is a way to deal with it here. Completely invincible to jumping attacks. It is also immune to throws. So if you're just trying to go for like a throw loop or something like that, then anyone doing a wake up 2, they can stop you very easily because throws cannot gain any purchase on them at all. Just goes right through them. They're invincible. So not invincible to grounded strikes, but invincible to throws and jump attacks on top of giving you a little bit of combo potential. Then we have what we call the up 3. Now the up 3, unlike the up 2, is full invincible. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It is just gonna happen. Now, the one downside I guess you can knock up 3s for is while they're full invincible, yes, the attacks are very horizontal versus the up 2s have a lot of vertical range to them. So these are very easily defeated just by jumping if you know they're going to come. And of course, then you can land on their head and get a full combo. So defensively, it's stronger because you just trying to do wake up buttons into up 3 is not going to work. You're going to lose, unlike the up 2. But it does trade in that if it is predictable, then you're definitely getting punished. Now, let's talk the flawless block. This is another core defensive mechanic in the game. So, on its base, you simply have to block with really good timing, right? And how good is that timing? It's pretty strict. It's got to be within 3 frames of the move connecting. So if I just hold block, I'm never going to get it. If I block a little bit early, still not going to get it. I have to block basically right when the move is about to hit. And if I do, well then awesome, it works out. Now there's a lot more besides just this on paper. One, if you block normally, you take chip damage, right? If you flawless block, you do not take chip damage. So it could save your life, just so you know. Another thing about flawless block is it gives you what normally would be wake up options. Your wake up 2 and your wake up 3. You still get both of them. Now, they still take meter, right? You still take 1 defensive meter, 1 offensive meter. So just so you know, it ain't free, but now you get them. So you can turn basically a flawless block into a punish situation where otherwise you would just sit there and block. Many normals and strings in the game, if they are flawless blocked, you can no longer cancel them into anything special. So, for example here as Cassie, I can go down 4 into gunshot, right? And I can just do that pretty as I please. And if they were to block it, hey, I still get it. That's fine. But if they were to flawless block it, all of a sudden I can no longer special cancel and get my gunshot. So there's another reward for flawless blocking. So poke into special cancel is a fairly big deal in this game. And all of a sudden, this is just another way around just getting around it. Because if you flawless block, there is no special coming your way. And this works for many things like jump kicks, jump attacks, whatever. Many moves in this game you can no longer cancel into a special move if the initial part is flawless blocked. Now, as of Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, the 3-frame window, it's still there. It's tight. It's meant to be tight. It's not meant to be easy, right? You kind of got to risk blocking at the last possible second. However, that window has been widened to 6 frames, which is literally double the window, if you do it against fatal blows. So effectively, it is much easier to flawless block a fatal blow and go from there. And also, if you flawless block, the pushback is a lot less, meaning it's a lot easier to punish with what you would ever desire to do. So in that regard, very important. You can do it. And also, certain moves have been keyed for certain characters to have the double flawless block window as well. Jackie's bionic jump is one of the, if not the most key example, in that anything she does off the bionic jump now has that enhanced flawless block window, meaning it's a lot easier to deal with. Flawless blocks are a very important defensive mechanic. Now, you're not being asked to master it off the gate, right? Because it's hard and you have to have a lot of knowledge. But as you get better with the game, as you understand certain characters, it just comes a lot easier to deal with. Certain characters as well, another big part is they may have gaps in their strings. So you can actually flawless block in the middle of blocking a string and then deal with it from there. Flawless blocks, very important. Now, crushing blows, very, very important concept. They are basically your big mega attacks that lead to big combos. And they're only one of per game, not per round, per game. So if you get one in round 1, you can't use it in round 2, you cannot use it in round 3. Now, all of these crushing blows all have unique mechanics. The most prevalent of which is basically punishing something. Either a move whiffed and you hit him, or you hit him during the startup as a counter hit, and then you get your big crushing blow. Now, the one you're most likely to see, because people love spamming moves, is the uppercut one. So the uppercut, it will happen if you punish or counter hit a high attack. So something that was basically going over your head while you were ducking, and you uppercut him. Now, on top of looking very big, impressive, and cinematic looking, they also give you big time combos. Like, that's almost 40% of your life, right? I'm not getting that with Shang Tsung normally, that's for sure. But since this is like a checkmate kind of move, all of a sudden, I can. And then once again, this is a one-time deal. I'm not getting this any other time, right? But almost 40% in the round, that's definitely going to swing the round, hopefully, in my favor. So that is one of the best times to deploy it. And many other kinds of crushing blows in the game have the exact same trigger. Either hits as a counter or a punish. Shang Tsung, as our example, also has another one of these here. 4-2-4-3. If it hits as a counter or a punish, hey, big boot to the face does a fair chunk of change in damage. But there's a lot more examples than that, right? So we have Shang Tsung because he has quite a few different options for crushing blows. We have the string back 1, down 2. By itself, it's a mid into an overhead, so you do have to block it standing. But if only the overhead hits, be it the move whiffs or they block the first one and then block the second one, then all of a sudden, cracks you in the head and it launches you. And naturally, since it launches as it hits, we get a combo as well. As you can see there, so hey, that's really nice. 30% off just a random overhead, which cannot combo by itself without the crushing blow. Another example for Shang Tsung, if he catches you rolling with forward 4, hey, that's a big boot to the face. And in one of the more outrageous examples here, Shang Tsung has the Soul Steal. And he, turns into you, basically, right? And if he back throws you right after his transformation ends, that back throw all of a sudden becomes a launching combo crushing blow starter. So, like, this one's really edge case, right? I'm not going to lie, but that's the beauty, right? Some of the more interesting ones are more edge case, and there's a bunch of examples. Rambo and Melina, 2 characters recently added in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, they have very unique ones where their forward throws are crushing blows as long as they don't leave the ground for 10 seconds. So if they don't jump or if they don't get hit and knocked to the ground. And there's a lot of crazy examples. So there's a lot of variety. Honestly, some of the stronger ones are the basic ones, and if it hits as a counter hit or a punish, to be sure. But the Crushing Blow variety is a big deal to the game, adds a lot to the game's depth, and how you manage these is also a very, very big deal. Now let's talk combos. Combos are a big part of fighting games, for the most part. And you want to get your cool combo, get your damage in, have it look cool, all that kind of stuff, right? In Mortal Kombat 11, some characters are big combo monkeys. Some characters, combos aren't actually as important versus like just a more grounded pressure style play. But you always got to know a combo or two, right? And I just want to show you the rules of combos. Now, if you know the combo, sure, that's great. Like, you know, as Melina, I can go to ball, dash forward, uppercut, combo from there. Awesome, right? But it helps to understand some of the rules. Now, core one of the rules is more hits equals less damage. Each successive hit will do less damage in a combo, and I think Melina is a very good example of this. So we have two combo starters. We have 2-3-3, and we have 3-4. Now, as you can see here, 2-3-3 does more damage. 101, right? 3-4, 97. So this obviously does more damage. At the end of our combo here, 310. And yet we're going to use 3-4, which does less damage. 329. So what happened there? So while the starter of 2-3-3 does more damage than 3-4, the thing is, it's 4 hits versus 2 hits. And that just extra bit of hit reduces the scaling of the damage just enough, so it actually does less damage overall versus the move, while it does initially less damage, has less hits. So it's one thing just to always keep in mind, that sometimes the starters, while it may not appear to do more damage in the end just based off the initial damage, if there is more hits in a combo, you might actually do less in the end. Another very important basic concept here is simply gravity. I can't keep hitting them forever, right? The more you hit them, the faster and faster and faster they will fall to the ground. So a big part of a lot of corner combos is getting in basically as many hits as you can before they fall. But keep in mind, if you just do too many, they'll fall faster and faster and your combo might not work anymore. Now, another super critical thing to know is moves that launch by themselves cause advanced damage scaling. So like Kano, back 2. Puts the enemy in the air, and we can get a follow-up afterwards, right? So it's very important. It's very critical for some combo routes, but keep in mind, sometimes you actually do less damage by adding it. So let me give you a basic example here. We're going to use 1-1. So 1-1 does 48.5 and 2 hits instead of 1, and back 2 does 5. So it's more damage and only 1 hit, so it doesn't aggravate the combo scaling, and yet the 1-1 is going to do more damage. So this combo right here did 293 damage. Now let's see what the back 2 version does. Did 280. So it is a lower number despite the fact it is a single hit, and that hit does more damage than the 2 hits that came before it, right? So that is the thing. So anything that launches normally will add even more advanced combo scaling. So, you know, go find your combo guides. I hope they help you out, learn what they got. But when you're looking to make your own combos and just looking to understand how it all works, keep a lot of these concepts in mind, because what looks like should be a more damaging combo on paper might not always be in the end. Now, I want to talk simply about stages, because stages are more than purely cosmetic in Mortal Kombat 11. They matter. Ask Devora how much the stage just mattered to her, because that Jeep didn't agree with her, right? So that's just a perfect example here. There's just so many things across all the stages that just you can play around with. Like this cactus, hey, you better believe I can just rub your face up against it and just smash you with it. And there's so many different options level to level. Like once again, let's go back to this Jeep example here. So a Scarlet corner combo, I can use this interactable here, which does take a defensive bar, by the way. All interactables take a defensive bar. And I can get more damage than I normally could without it, without just spending more bar. To get that same kind of damage, I would have to burn both my offensive bars for Scarlet. But thanks to that just being there, I do not have to use it. Now, for interactables like this, they're one and dones. So I cannot use it again. As long as the match is gone, it's over, right? Some are reusable, some are one and dones, but that's just a basic example of an offensive one. Depending on the stage you're in, you can get wildly different benefits. Like this stage here has this guy, and it causes a capture state. Like the enemy is literally frozen in place. So we can create a combo directly around this. And all of a sudden we got a little bit of a combo thanks to that interactable, and a little bit better than what we would normally have. Some are also purely defensive in nature. So in the Black Dragon Fight Club example here, if we use our interactable, we literally run up the wall and get out of dodge. Now, of course, once again, just to reiterate, these take a defensive bar, right? So if you have no defensive bar, it ain't gonna happen. But as long as you do, it is a very strong option available to you. So just really keep in mind the stage and all the options, because sometimes it's a defensive thing, sometimes you're taking a chainsaw and ripping into the person, right? So stage choice matters in Mortal Kombat 11. Now, let's talk one of the biggest complaints, not in just this fighting game, but in fighting games in general. People who just jump too much, right? Sometimes, if you don't know what's going on, it's legitimately difficult to deal with. Some people in this game, like Kotal, have really bad uppercuts. So, uppercuts can work if you're like super ahead of them, but if you're just purely reacting to it, a lot of times you're gonna get beat. Now, this is Kotal, for example. Some people have fantastic uppercuts, Collector being an example, but just sometimes the basic tool you think is the catch-all doesn't work so good. So what else can we rely on? And it turns out the humble jab for a lot of characters is exactly what the doctor ordered. Now, for a lot of characters, it can be stand 1, it can be stand 2, it can be a variety of buttons, really, right? But the deal is here, the jab is the answer for a lot of them. Now, it also helps if you're moving backwards. The further you are away from a jump, it makes it exponentially easier to deal with. And for Kotal, as an example, you can also special cancel, right? So for Kotal, all of a sudden, we can turn our little jab anti-air into a full combo. Now, it's really character to character, example to example. Like, Jade definitely has one of the better uppercuts, so she's definitely served a lot better off by just simply uppercutting a jump. And then we get some of our turbocharged examples, like Cabal down 3. Now, this move does not look like an anti-air, and yet, I'm here to tell you, it's one of the better anti-airs in the game, frankly. And then all of a sudden, you can make full combo conversions from spin, all that kind of stuff here. Like, it's really different character to character. Some people have amazing options, and some people, it's a little bit harder. Like Cabal, his base uppercut's really bad as well. I would never recommend using his uppercut unless you, even if you get the read sometimes, like, it can whiff, right? Like, it's just not very good. But that down 3, wow, it's a game changer. So what I suggest to you, just try out character to character. Sometimes the uppercut's exactly what the doctor ordered. Sometimes it's a stand 1, stand 2. Sometimes it's a really weird crouching button. Try it character to character, because not everyone's anti-air options are the same as everyone else's. And there's a lot of character specificity. But I'm just here to tell you, basically, if your uppercut's not working, don't just say your character has no anti-airs. Try it out and see what you might find. Now, let's talk custom variations. One of the biggest changes in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate is simply you can go nuts and pick anything in competitive play, be it ranked online or tournaments. Now before, well, you can still pick anything you want as long as it's totally casual play, but now it being allowed in competitive play is a very big deal. So you can just go to any old character here, let's use Robocop as our example, and go to your abilities, we'll just take everything off. And just pick any 3 points worth of stuff you want, right? So if you want Cheval Trap here, Active Reactive Patrol, and Flamethrower, boom, done. And you can save it. And that's all there is to it. But there is a couple caveats here. Certain moves, when put in combination with each other, such as Terminal Strip, which is his command grab, and Flamethrower, they are disabled in competitive play. Now, that said, it's not stopping you from using it, right? Only stopping you from using it in competitive modes. So if you want to play in regular versus or towers or AI or whatever, it's all still there for you. Just certain moves might conflict. Also, certain moves are just straight up banned, like regardless of the combination. So for Garrus, we have 2. We have Lost in Spare Time. Now, normally this would let him play with the clock, right? Either add or remove time, which is pretty different, let's put it that way. And he can also just resurrect when he dies, which is disabled. So moves like this are deemed too powerful or a little too warping for competitive play. These are now disabled, but one of the big changes, once again here in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, is simply now you have free-form choice. If you're looking for competitive play, you can pick whatever you want, minus a couple moves. Like 99% of the game is now open to you, minus these few moves, but overall, this has definitely breathed giant new life into the game, and for a lot of you who are returning players, this is probably the reason why you're returning. So go around, play around to see what works for you. There's new setups, there's new combo routes, there's new everything to play around with. Now, a very big part of Mortal Kombat 11 is pokes, and it's been a big part of the series since the MK9 reboot. So pokes have changed in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, but first, what are pokes? Generally considered, pokes are your down 1s, your down 3s, and your down 4s. So just quick little buttons that stick out a hitbox, basically, right? And a big part of being in people's faces is basically managing these pokes. Now, the one change that's fairly universal across the game is pokes are now more negative on block and take longer to recover, although character to character basis, right? And pokes are generally much more advantage on hit. Now, this is a much bigger deal if you're a returning player versus a brand new player, but just so you know, the usual poke wars, they still exist, but the reward is much bigger for getting a successful poke, as the enemy, like, since they're much more hit stun, they have way less time to, like, poke back, because it's your turn, right? You get to dictate what's going to happen next, and if you block a poke, then there is much more recovery, and generally speaking, they're much more negative, so it takes a longer time before they can just mash out another poke. So when it comes to the poke wars, while they exist, and it's a core part of the game, absolutely, they're much more manageable now. So now I'm going to talk about the ultra important concept of jailing in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. And on Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, it got a lot better for a lot of characters. This is why I'm using Shao Kahn as our example here, because before, man, it was rough. In a nutshell, a jail is simply this. I hit you with whatever move, and you're not allowed to move, because if you do, I'm going to hit you with my next move. You're able to defend yourself, 100%, yes. But if you try to hit a button, even if you try to jump, you can't, because you're stuck in what we call an animation lock. So here we are. I'm just going to use down 1 as our example. And Devora's crouching. So if I try any kind of high, it's not going to work, because it's all going to go clear over her head, right? That's kind of how it's meant to be. Highs go over crouchers. But if I hit her with this down 1, and then I go for my high, all of a sudden it works. This is what we call basically the jail. So the hit animation forces her to stand up, and in standing up, I can now hit her with my move. Now, of course, yes, once again, she is allowed to block. That is one of the core concepts here. You're allowed to block, but if you do anything but block, then all of a sudden, this cute little hit can become a full combo, and you gotta watch out for that. Now, in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, things like this are now possible. For Shao Kahn, specifically, to do a down 4, even with the giant reel back, I have enough time due to I'm having 20 frames plus of frame advantage. I can chase you down with a dash and still do dash 1-4, and if you still weren't blocking the whole time after that initial hit, I will get you. And of course, one of the core concepts simply is, now that you know you're forced to block, well then I'm going to throw you. Really simple as that, right? So once people are just stuck in that animation, they know they have to hold block, then all of a sudden, then you become free game for getting thrown or any sorts of gimmicks. But you can look at the jail as basically a core component of the poke war, and we went over pokes earlier. If I get my poke successfully, that means you have to submit to the next thing I'm going to do. Therefore, you have to block, and if you think you're cute and try to get out, then all of a sudden, turns out you weren't that cute after all, and you're going to get slammed. So try it out character to character. One of the core conceits is whatever the number says you're hit advantage by, so in this case we're hit advantage 14, that means I can do anything basically 13 frames or faster and it will jail. So if I do say stand 2, 10 frames, boom, jail's just fine. They can't return to the crouch fast enough to deal with it, therefore they have to block. If I were to do something very slow, like say down 3 and then I go into forward 4, forward 4 is not very quick. In that time, they could jump out or poke me out of it or do a variety of things. So that would not be a jail. Sure, I absolutely have frame advantage, yes, but it doesn't prevent the enemy from being able to do what they want to do. Once again, character to character, look at your character pokes, look at their numbers, and that tells the whole story and it lets you just know everything you are capable of. So let's talk armor. What is armor? Well, simply put, armor is saying, I'm not going to play around with your stuff, right? I can just go through it and tank through whatever you're going to do, and that's about it. Now, armor in Mortal Kombat 11 is fairly rare, especially compared to like MK9 and MK10. So one of the universal sources of armor in this game is the Fatal Blow. So your super move, effectively. And at the very start of the move, although not frame 1, and it has been nerfed in later revisions of the game. I think it starts up on like frame 6 or something like that now. Don't quote me on that though. But later in the active frames of the move, the armor will kick in. And basically you get the tank through a hit, right? So whatever they're trying to do, you go through it and you hit them on the other side. That's the basic, most applicable form of armor. Now you can also get armor from interactables. So we get the Humble Chainsaw here. And if we use our interactable button and block at the same time, you might notice it drained a lot of bar from us. It took a defensive bar for the use of the interactable and both of our offensive bars. But while we do it, we are now armored. So as you can see right there, I can just go through the enemy here. The armor will just defeat the enemy no matter what. Now, this is a very, very hefty cost, to say the least. You need 1 defensive bar and 2 offensive bars. But it is a source of armor on every interactable. So not just offensive, defensive ones as well. You can use armor to get around there. So all of a sudden, getting out of the corner can be armored getting out of the corner, for example. So just keep in mind, another part of stages matter a lot. Stages could give you armored interactables that can really save your bacon when you otherwise might be up the creek without a paddle. So it's very important. And of course, your Fatal Blow armor is universal. So use it when you think you might be able to get away with it. Although remember, that armor is not frame 1. So waking up Fatal Blow, you still might get blown up for it. So now that we had the subject of armor, let's talk Armour Breakers. Armour Breakers were introduced in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. And this is basically a way to get around the fact that when you know the foe is going to armor, most applicable for breakaways for sure. So now, let's use an example here. Oh, I launched him. Oh, the enemy just broke away. Unfortunate. Guess I don't get my combo, except for what we have equipped right now. We have the Up Spear, and the Up Spear is an Armour Breaker. So before, what I would settle for is like this. Oh, if you're going to break, I'll just dash an uppercut. 199. But with an Armour Breaker, it says armor broken, and all of a sudden we got more damage, as you get a bit of a damage bonus when you break armor. And of course, for this specific move as well, we actually can recombo. So we can get kind of whatever little combo we can work with. Many Armour Breakers have different rules. They're all, they don't follow any kind of script. For this one, this is an anti-air, right? Some are just straight up regular attacks. Some are charges. There's all sorts of different Armour Breakers. Some are grabs, right? So it's character to character to character, and you will have to go into your variation menu just to see what's what. When you go into your special moves, if you look here, you will see this term Armour Break in the menu if it does break armor. Some moves do, some moves don't. A lot of characters, they don't have an Armour Breaker in their base kit, so you will have to find it in a variation specific move. This can also be used to break armors from everything, so not just breakaways. You can use it for interactables, you can use it for fatal blows. Once again, it depends move to move. The Obscure cannot hit a standing foe, so I could not use that, for example, to do armor break on a fatal blow. But for the most part, a lot of armor breaks, they get around everything. When you want to heavily rely on combos and you know the foe is going to be tricky and try to break away on everything, Armour Breakers are exactly what the doctor ordered. Now let's talk hit confirming your combos. Hit confirming your combos is one of the most important skills you'll ever learn. not just in Mortal Kombat 11, but in fighting games in general. It is super critical. Thankfully, Mortal Kombat 11 makes it very easy to practice. All we have to do is go into our menu, go to AI options, we're going to set to block, and we're going to set it to random combo. So now, they're just going to block, and sometimes they don't. So I do not know if the enemy is going to block or not. I can only just guess. And that is the essence of what we call hit confirming. Because from this point, I want to be able to get my combo if it connects, right? I want to be able to do something. But, you know, how am I going to know if they're blocking or not? And this is basically a reaction test. So I'm going to show you a couple examples here. I'm just going to have the bot, once again, set to random combo. This is what you want. And I'm just going to do my special move if I get the hit. And if not, I'll just let it slide. Okay, got a hit. Okay, got blocked. I'm not going to keep going. Got a hit. I get my special move. Got a hit. Go for my special move. Block. Nothing. And you might notice here, while I got blocked, I did input back forward. The move I'm going to use for Rambo here is back forward 4. So when I'm doing this here, I'm just inputting back forward first. And if the move connects, then I hit 4. So I can pre-buffer the motion here. And right there, I was a little bit too slow. So this example is pretty fast compared to many hit confirmable strings. But that, in essence, is it. And right there, I jumped the gun. I didn't get it, so I would get punished maybe depending on the moves. But yeah, so that is the essence here. Just seeing if you get blocked or not. And that's very important. And now what we can go from the next step here is 2-layer hit confirming. So Rambo, if they block on this string, he can also throw you if you block it, right? So I want to be able to throw them if they block and go for my combo on hit if they don't block. So I effectively need to be extra on the ball because now I'm looking for 2 things. On block, I'm looking for 1 resolution. On hit, I'm looking for a different resolution. So slide this time. Throw this time. Slide again. Throw again. Slide again. Slide again. Throw again. That's kind of the effort, right? And once again, depending on the string, it could be a lot easier or a lot harder. I'm using Rambo 1-2 as an example because it's pretty quick. Forward 1-2, a lot easier because the move is just so much slower. Like, you can just get a lot more time to just visually ascertain what's going on. And character to character, move to move is different. But once again here, I just want to stress, random combo is what you want. And practice your strings. So you are looking for stuff where if you get the hit, awesome. You get your special move or your launcher or whatever into a combo. And if a block, then you want to hold back. Don't hit your special move because a lot of special moves are not safe on block. And you just really want to wait. And once again, in this case here for Rambo, and there's a couple other characters where they also might have a grab or something else. This is what we call the 2-layer hit confirm because you're looking for 2 different things and are reacting accordingly to whichever one you get. To bring up the last breath mechanic. So what it is basically a way to avoid being chipped out. As long as you have defensive meters left, it'll burn one of your defensive meters permanently for the round, and it'll avoid the chip. So when you run out of defensive meters, then you go down. Now, let's talk the magic number. The magic number is -5 on block. And why is it a magic number? Because that is the most amount you can still be negative and still flawless block an incoming 7-frame move, which most stand ones, down ones, most of them in the game, they're 7 frames. So basically when someone's trying to poke you out after, you know, you did your string, right, it's their turn, you're still able to flawless block and turn the tables. So we're going to do our forward 4-1 string here. So it's -5, right? And Navora, she's going to go for her stand jab right away. And if we try to hit buttons, yeah, for sure, we lose, right? We're not beating her, that's for sure. But since we have the magic number, we can just barely flawless block it. As you can see right there, flawless block. Flawless block again. So it's not auto-timed, so if you hold block right away, you're not going to get it auto-timed. So there's an element of timing, but it is something you're able to do. And now in retrospect, Cassie was kind of a bad choice to show this off, but whatever. But yeah, so basically after you do your string, and you should lose your turn, you can flawless block and then up 2, up 3, whatever, and try to steal your turn right back. So anything that's -5 or less, so -4, -3, -2, all that kind of stuff, you are able to do this. Now -6 against the 7 frame, not gonna work. Has to be 5 or lower. Now here comes effectively the hardest question. Well, what character you want to play, right? And I got no easy answers for you. If you're a fan of just Mortal Kombat in general, can't go wrong with Scorpion or Sub-Zero. They're classics. Are you a fan of guest characters? RoboCop, Rambo, big fan of the 80s, there you go. Joker, Spawn, big fan of comics. They're all well represented and very faithful to the characters. But with that said here, I highly suggest please go into training mode. Just pick a character you might like, see what they can do, and you might find someone you never knew you liked. But I'll give you a very, very brief and very not complete rundown of just some of the classic archetypes of fighting games and some characters that can kind of fit in there. Do you like Rushdown? Do you like being very aggressive? Joker, Liu Kang, and Jackie Briggs all excel at that. Do you like playing Keep Away? You know, frustrating your foe with a lot of projectiles and other just tricks and gimmicks? Well, I would suggest maybe Shang Tsung, maybe Cetrion, and depending on how he turns out, maybe Rambo. He seems to be leaning that way depending on certain variation moves you pick. Do you like the big boy Zangief style grappler? Then go no further than Kotal Kahn. He's absolutely the best example of it in this game. Do you just want to play Street Fighter and just do honest footsies and neutral and just play that kind of game? I would highly suggest Noob Saibot. I would highly suggest Johnny Cage. And if you're a fan of wasting your time, hey, Shao Kahn's still in the game, so you can pick him too. But once again, it's hard to put people in a bubble. Thanks to variations being opened up, you can make a lot of things. Like, I talked about Rambo being, you know, good zoning suite, right? Good ranged options. Yet he can also be a close combat command grab monster, right? With just all sorts of pressure and all sorts of just really in your face bullying. So he can be both characters, right? And a lot of characters, they can fit multiple roles now, especially because variations have opened up. So don't limit yourself just to a general archetype. I would honestly suggest the rule of cool. Just pick who you think looks cool first and go from there. Worry about combos, frame data, setups, Okazeme, all that kind of stuff. Worry about that later. If you think Cabal looks cool, go. Pick him. If you think Shiva's exactly up your alley, perfect. Pick her. And worry about the details from there. Sticking with a character you think is cool is more important in the end than anything, because the character that keeps your interest is the character that will keep you playing the game. And our final tip is use training mode. There's a lot there for you. A lot of what I showed you in this video is made possible thanks to what training mode has to offer us. Like a simple case, one thing I used a lot in this video. You can go to record in AI options, and then all of a sudden, we can set a bot to do something, and then he'll do it. And you can practice against it, right? One of the best ways to learn how to beat things is to be able to practice against them. And now you can do it very easily. Say you're concerned that the enemy might do one of two things. We can go back to record, go to recording slot, and we can record here any number of things. As you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, also custom get up reversal. So say we'll record 1, 2, just walk forward, down 4. And we're going to set number 2 to walk forward and jump. Now we go back to our menu here, go back to playback, and we'll set it to random hidden playback. So I do not know which one the enemy is going to do. They can walk forward and hit down forward, they can walk forward and jump, I'm just not sure. Maybe this isn't the best mix-up example, right? But it gives you an idea of some of the power that is available to you in training mode. All sorts of blocking options, very important. Being able to set enemies, their motion, ducking, hopping, jumping, all that kind of stuff. If you want to make sure they're going to always break away after a combo, you can set that here. It's just that easy. Say you want to quickly test something from the enemy's point of view. Very easy to switch characters. And that character permanently as well. Very, very easy. A lot of other training modes, they only let you take control of the character temporarily. So I like that quite a bit. Screen settings, very important. You want to be closer to the corner, you want to be in the corner, that kind of stuff. All there for you and all there for your perusal. So I'm not going to show you every single option because we'd be here all day. It'd be as long as this whole video itself. But just go into training mode, check out every option I have available to you. The best players are born in training mode. I know it's maybe not as sometimes fun as playing against another person, but here you will learn the stuff that will make you into a good/great player. And at this point, I'm certain I've rambled on long enough. This video is probably pretty long as it stands. But suffice to say, there's a lot of depth here. There's a lot of fun to be had here. And really the big thing is just go at your own pace. This isn't a race. If this is your first fighting game, man, just take it easy. Don't worry about it. Go with what is fun first before you're worried about like becoming the next champion, right? If it's been a hot minute since you played Mortal Kombat 11, just find an old favorite, slip back in before worrying about stressing about some of the newer stuff, right? And that's really, in the end, we're here to have fun, so I just stress have fun first and foremost. And with all that said, and rambling too much, my friends, I guess that's the end of this video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video's found you well. Go out and play some Mortal Kombat.
This is the